Few years ago, I was standing on the 47th floor of a Manhattan skyscraper, looking down at the endless stream of yellow cabs and bustling crowds, and I couldn't breathe. Not because of the height, but because I had forgotten how to find stillness in a world that never stopped moving. What I'm about to share with you changed everything. It's not about escaping the chaos. It's about finding the eye of the storm within yourself. And I promise you, by the end of this story, you'll understand that peace isn't something you find, it's something you create. My name is Emma, and I'm a 34-year-old marketing director living in New York City. Well, I was surviving in New York City. There's a difference. Picture this. 6:30 a.m. alarm, subway that smells like coffee, exhaust, and broken dreams. 15-hour workdays managing campaigns for brands I didn't care about. By the time I'd get home around 10 p.m., I'd collapse with cold takeout, scrolling through social media until my eyes burned, listening to sirens and my upstairs neighbor's endless furniture rearranging. I was living in one of the most vibrant cities in the world, surrounded by 8 million people, and I had never felt more alone or exhausted. But here's what I didn't realize. I wasn't just tired from the city. I was tired from fighting it. Every single day, I was in constant resistance against the noise, the pace, the pressure. I was like a swimmer fighting against a current, exhausting myself trying to swim upstream instead of learning how to flow with the water. The breaking point came on a Tuesday in October. I was sitting in that conference room on the 47th floor, presenting to a client who kept checking his phone. Outside the windows, I could see the Hudson River, Central Park, the endless grid of streets. Suddenly, I felt this overwhelming wave of emptiness. Not sadness, just this hollow feeling, like I was watching my life happen to someone else. The client was talking about engagement metrics, but all I could hear was my own heartbeat, fast and irregular, like a bird trapped in a cage. That night, I called my mom in Oregon. She could hear it in my voice before I even said anything. "Emma, honey," she said, "you sound like you're drowning." And that's exactly what it felt like. I started researching everything: stress, anxiety, meditation. I tried yoga classes where I'd spend the entire hour thinking about emails. I tried running in Central Park. But even there, I couldn't escape the constant urban hum. Nothing worked because I was approaching it all wrong. I was trying to add peace to my life instead of understanding that peace was already there. I just needed to remember how to access it. The first real clue came from an unexpected source. I was waiting for the delayed 6 train, and there was this elderly man sitting next to me. While everyone around us was sighing and checking phones, he was just sitting there, completely calm. As if he sensed me looking, he turned and smiled. "First time riding the subway?" he asked. "No," I laughed. "I've been doing this commute for 6 years." "Ah," he nodded. "But perhaps it's the first time you're really here for it." His words stayed with me. "Perhaps it's the first time you're really here for it." That weekend, I found myself in a bookstore, and my hand landed on a book about consciousness creating reality. I'd heard of the law of attraction before, but I'd always thought of it as visualizing sports cars and dream jobs. What I discovered was something deeper, the idea that our inner state creates our outer experience. One sentence stopped me cold. You cannot change your external circumstances until you change your internal vibration. Peace is not found in the absence of chaos. It's found in your relationship to chaos. I read that sentence 20 times. It felt like someone had just handed me a key I didn't even know I was looking for. I started small. Instead of checking my phone when I woke up, I spent 5 minutes focusing on my breathing. On the subway, instead of automatically putting in headphones, I just observed. I watched people, noticed the train's rhythm, felt my body swaying with the movement. It was uncomfortable at first. Without distractions, I became aware of how tense I was. Shoulders hunched, jaw clenched, breathing shallow. But instead of judging myself, I got curious. What if this tension was information? What if my body was trying to tell me something? I began developing micro-practices, tiny moments throughout the day where I'd pause and consciously choose my internal state. Waiting for elevators, 3 deep breaths. Walking to work, feeling my feet on the ground. Before opening my laptop, setting an intention. I started carrying a notebook, writing down moments of unexpected beauty. Morning light through coffee shop windows, strangers helping each other, children laughing in playgrounds. Of course, it wasn't linear. My inner critic had a field day. This is just spiritual bypassing. You're avoiding reality. The city is still loud. Your job is still stressful. That voice wasn't entirely wrong. The external circumstances hadn't changed. But something else was shifting. My relationship to those circumstances. I began experimenting with different internal narratives. Instead of, "The subway is so crowded and gross," I'd try, "I'm sharing this space with hundreds of people, each with their own story." Instead of, "My apartment is too small and noisy," I'd practice, "I have shelter in one of the most expensive cities in the world." It sounds simple, but it was revolutionary. I was literally rewiring my brain's default settings. About 6 weeks in, I started noticing things that felt like more than coincidence. I'd be overwhelmed at work, step outside for a walk, and somehow find myself in front of a small garden I'd never noticed. Or I'd be anxious about a presentation and overhear someone at the next table talking about overcoming their fear of public speaking. One evening, after a particularly difficult day, I passed a street musician playing guitar outside Union Square. He was playing this simple, beautiful melody that seemed to speak directly to my soul. When he finished, he looked up and smiled. "Rough day?" I nodded. "You know," he said, "I used to be a hedge fund analyst. Worked right over there." He pointed to a tall building. Thought I was going crazy from stress. Started playing music on lunch breaks. Eventually realized the music wasn't an escape from my life. It was calling me back to my life. As he played another song, I found myself really listening. Not just to the music, but to everything around it. The footsteps, traffic, even construction noise seemed to weave together into this complex urban symphony. That's when it hit me. I had been trying to find peace in spite of the city. But what if I could find peace within the city? What if the chaos itself could become a doorway to stillness? This realization opened something entirely new. Instead of seeing noise and pace as obstacles, I started experimenting with them as teachers. I learned to find rhythm in subway trains, to see pedestrian flow as meditation in motion. I began understanding what it meant to think in a certain way. It wasn't about positive thinking or denying reality. It was about choosing to see creative potential in every moment. The city started feeling different, not because it had changed, but because I was relating to it differently. Instead of feeling like a leaf blown by wind, I was learning to dance with the wind. I started waking up earlier to witness the city coming alive. There's something magical about Manhattan at 6 a.m. Quieter streets, softer light, birds singing in trees. I'd walk to work as moving meditation, feeling my feet on pavement, noticing shadows shifting as the sun moved. As I became more present and less reactive, people responded differently. Co-workers commented on how calm I seemed during stressful deadlines. "What's your secret?" my colleague Sarah asked when I didn't freak out about a last-minute client change. "I guess I'm getting better at riding the waves instead of fighting them," I told her. My relationship with my roommate improved dramatically. Random interactions with strangers felt different too. When you're present and peaceful, you become a magnet for other people's authenticity. 4 months in, something interesting happened at work. In a meeting about a campaign that felt completely misaligned with my values, instead of nodding along while internally cringing, I spoke up. What if we focused on how this product could genuinely improve people's lives instead of making them feel bad about themselves? To my surprise, my suggestion sparked a real conversation about ethical marketing. We completely restructured the campaign. As I became more aligned internally, my external world started reflecting that alignment. 6 months later, I was offered a position at a B Corp focused on sustainable products and ethical business practices. The salary was higher, and the company valued work-life balance and social responsibility. As my life aligned with my authentic self, my practice deepened. I started understanding what it meant to work with the subconscious mind. Years of stress had created deep patterns in my nervous system, but consciousness is like water on stone. Gentle, persistent pressure can reshape even the hardest surfaces. I began working with affirmations that felt true. I am learning to find peace in any circumstance. I trust that every experience is teaching me something valuable. My inner calm influences everything around me. I practiced visualization, but not trying to manifest specific outcomes. Instead, I'd visualize feeling states I wanted to experience: peace, joy, connection, purpose. I'd spend time each morning imagining myself moving through my day with grace and presence. 8 months in, I hit a wall during a brutal New York summer. A project fell through, my air conditioner broke, and I was dealing with family stress. Despite all my practices, I found myself falling back into old patterns. I remember sitting in my sweltering apartment feeling like a fraud. All this spiritual stuff is just wishful thinking, I told myself. You're still the same stressed out person. At 3 a.m., unable to sleep, I went for a walk and found myself in Washington Square Park, where a street performer was playing saxophone. The music was soulful, weaving through the urban sounds around us. As I listened, something shifted. I realized my frustration wasn't about losing my peace. It was about expecting to maintain it perfectly. I had turned spiritual practice into another form of perfectionism. That night in the park, sitting there sweaty and tired and imperfect, listening to beautiful music in the middle of a chaotic city at 3 a.m., I felt profoundly peaceful. Not because everything was perfect, but because everything was exactly as it was. I understood something crucial. Peace isn't the absence of chaos. Peace is your natural state, always available underneath whatever's happening on the surface. This was the real turning point. Instead of trying to maintain some ideal state, I learned to trust that peace was always accessible, even in the middle of difficult emotions or challenging situations. From that point forward, my relationship with manifestation changed completely. Instead of trying to control external circumstances, I focused on cultivating inner states that were intrinsically valuable. The paradox: the less I tried to manifest specific outcomes, the more my life aligned with my deepest desires. My work became more fulfilling, my relationships deepened, my living situation improved. But most importantly, I stopped waiting for external conditions to be perfect before allowing myself to be happy. My days took on a completely different quality. I'd wake up with soft eyes, taking a few minutes to appreciate being alive. My commute became mobile meditation. At work, I took micro breaks, 30 seconds to reconnect with my breath or look out the window. Evenings became sacred time. Instead of collapsing in front of TV, I developed a sunset practice, pausing around 6 p.m. to acknowledge the day's transition, reflecting on 3 things I was grateful for, then visualizing the next day with grace and presence. As I became more present and open, I connected with like-minded people. There was Maria, who led weekly mindful movement in Prospect Park; David, who started monthly potlucks for meaningful conversations; Sarah from work, who'd been secretly practicing meditation for years. We weren't trying to escape the city or create artificial positivity. We were learning to be fully present with urban life while supporting each other and remembering our deeper nature. A year after that breakdown in the conference room, I found myself back in that same building, presenting a mindfulness program proposal. Standing at those same windows, looking at the same view, I marveled at how different everything felt. The city looked exactly the same, but I was seeing it through completely different eyes. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by the activity below, I felt connected to it. All those people weren't just sources of stress. They were fellow human beings, each playing their part in the grand symphony of urban life. During the second year, I met Marcus in the most ordinary, magical way. I was reading in my favorite coffee shop when he had laptop trouble. I offered to help, and we ended up talking for 3 hours about books, travel, and the quirky coffee shop characters. What struck me wasn't love at first sight, but how natural it felt to be myself with him. Marcus was a teacher from Portland who'd gone through his own journey of finding peace in urban chaos. Our relationship developed slowly and organically. Instead of drama and anxiety, this felt grounded and real. We supported each other's growth while building something beautiful together. My informal mindfulness workshops caught companies' attention, and I started getting hired for corporate training. There's something beautifully ironic about teaching stress management in the same buildings where I used to feel overwhelmed. I developed programs specifically for urban professionals. Finding your center in the city, mindful leadership in fast-paced environments. The work was incredibly fulfilling because I could see immediate results. 2.5 years in, Marcus and I moved in together. We found a beautiful Brooklyn apartment with big windows, high ceilings, and a small balcony where we could watch sunsets. Instead of desperately searching through listings, we got clear about what we wanted and trusted the right place would appear. Within 2 weeks, a friend mentioned her cousin needed someone to take over his lease. It checked every box and avoided the usual apartment hunting madness. Living with Marcus deepened my practice. We established morning and evening rituals, brief meditations together, and sharing gratitudes before sleep. We'd read spiritual teachings together and experiment with applying insights to daily life. One powerful practice we developed was conscious complaining, sharing challenges and asking each other, "What is this trying to teach me? How can I grow from this?" This transformed our relationship with problems. By year 3, what started as personal healing had become a way of life. I wasn't thinking about the law of attraction. I was simply living from alignment and trust. My business had grown organically. I'd started writing about my experiences on a blog called Urban Mystic, and people from cities worldwide began reaching out. 3 years after my initial breakdown, I was invited back to my former company to lead a workshop on managing stress and burnout. Walking into that same conference room, I was amazed by how different everything felt. Looking at participants who reminded me of my former self, I felt such compassion. During the workshop, I shared my story openly and emphasized that they didn't need to wait for external circumstances to change. "The city isn't your enemy," I told them. "How can you find the eye of the storm within yourself? How can you learn to dance with chaos instead of being overwhelmed by it?" Today, as I share this story, I'm sitting on our Brooklyn balcony, watching the sunset over Manhattan. Marcus is making dinner, and I can hear music from a neighbor's apartment mixing with distant traffic sounds. My life isn't perfect. I still have challenging days and difficult emotions. But my relationship to all of it has fundamentally changed. Peace isn't something you achieve once and maintain forever. It's something you remember, moment by moment, choice by choice. It's always available, right here, right now. If you're feeling overwhelmed by your circumstances, whether dealing with work stress, relationship challenges, or any other difficulties, I want you to know, peace is your birthright. It's always available, right here, right now. You don't have to change your external circumstances to access it. You can start exactly where you are, with exactly what you have. Begin with your breath. Right now, take a deep breath in and let it out slowly. Feel your body soften. Notice that even in the midst of whatever challenges you're facing, this moment of breathing is peaceful. The law of attraction isn't about wishful thinking. It's about aligning your inner state with the reality you want to experience. When you find peace within yourself, you become a source of peace for everyone around you. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. Trust the process. Your life is not happening to you. It's happening through you and as you. The universe is conspiring to help you remember who you truly are. a being of infinite worth, unlimited potential, and boundless capacity for love. All you have to do is say yes. Yes to the journey. Yes to the possibility that your life can be more beautiful and peaceful than you've ever imagined. You can learn to find the eye of the storm within yourself. You can be so rooted in peace that no external wind can blow you over. If this story has touched your heart, close your eyes for a moment and take 3 deep breaths. Place your hand on your heart and feel it beating. Let yourself feel grateful for this heart, this life, this moment. Make this commitment. I am willing to remember who I truly am. I am willing to find peace in any storm. I am willing to trust that my life is unfolding perfectly. Subscribe now and join thousands of people awakening to the power of the mind and heart. If you believe the universe is always listening, leave a comment below and simply write, "I trust." 2 words that changed my life. 2 words that can change yours. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being open to possibility. The universe is waiting for your yes. All you have to do is trust.